Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Arlington. My name is Burke, Kappler, and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees. Today is Sunday, June 6th. Our theme for June is play, and today we'll be talking about the roles we play in various aspects of our lives. Whether this is your first time joining us online or this is your regular Sunday morning destination, we're glad you're here. UUCA is an intentionally welcoming congregation, open to people of all backgrounds, races, genders, sexual orientations, and abilities. At UUCA, we encourage people to come for community, find inspiration, and live with purpose. We hope today's service inspires you, challenges you, uplifts you, and heals you. And as always, you can continue the conversation and share your thoughts and reflections with others during our virtual coffee hour on Facebook after the service. Thank you for joining us today, and welcome.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Irv Lachow. I'm serving as your worship associate this morning. Please join me as we light today's chalice. We gather together as a symbol of memory and hope. We light this chalice as a symbol of the light within every human heart. May our individual sparks meet and merge, bringing both light and warmth to the world. Good morning, everyone. For today's call to worship, I'm going to read to you an entry from this wonderful book called Journey to the Heart by Melody Beatty. It's a book I used a lot when I was a yoga teacher, and it has daily entries. And today I'll be reading the entry from April 8th called Enjoy the Adventure. It was a cold night in Sedona, Arizona. An unexpected snowstorm had passed through the usually warm city, dumping several inches of snow in a short time. The electricity was off. The cabin I was staying in was freezing. Great, I thought. I get to spend my last evening in Sedona fighting off hypothermia alone in the dark. I put on a heavy sweater, then wrapped myself in a blanket, trudged to a phone booth, and called a friend to complain. Change your perspective, he said. Pretend you're 4 years old. Get your flashlight. Then make a tent in your bed out of all the pillows and blankets you can find. Enjoy the adventure. At first, I balked. Then I decided to try this idea. I made the tent, bundled up. My complaints quickly turned to memories of what it was like to be a child, to play with life, to play with all the experiences life brings. Soon I fell asleep. When I awoke in the morning, the heat was back on. The lights had returned. The snow had stopped falling. Capped in a frosty layer of white, the breathtaking city of rust iron mesas looked like a wonderland. I had learned another lesson, practical and simple. Change your perspective and enjoy the adventure. Let the child in you come out and play.
Good morning, everyone. I bet some of you know that this year I have been a student. I have been in school learning how to be a minister. You know that part of learning is that we need time to practice and get experience. So if you're learning how to read, you spend time reading. And if you're learning how to ride a bike, then you spend time riding your bike. And if you're learning to play an instrument, you spend time playing that instrument. Well, I have been learning how to be a minister. So I have been spending time at UUCA so I can learn and practice being a minister. I have been really lucky to have so many amazing teachers this year. And I mean so many amazing teachers. I wonder if you've had a good teacher this year too. I know teachers at all of our schools and our religious education teachers here at UUCA have all been working extra hard this year to make sure everyone is learning. I'm going to read a little story, and then I'm going to tell you about some of my teachers this year. This story is called A Teacher is the Greatest Gift, and it's by E.B. Kappler with illustrations by Sarah Jennings. A teacher is the greatest gift. A teacher is the greatest gift. A flame to light my way. An umbrella in a windy storm. A big, bright, sunny day. A solid bridge that never sways. A compass to help guide me. An open book to magic lands when the real one's far behind me. A palette of colors to paint the world. A language to help describe it. Numbers, shapes, and measuring tools to help me build and size it. Through all the ups and downs we share, through times of joy and tears, a teacher's gifts will stay with me through many, many years. I think the best thing about being at UUCA has been all of the teachers I have met. Reverend Amanda has been an amazing teacher for me for the last 3 years, and I am so grateful for everything she has taught me. And I also learned from Reverend Walter and from Diane. They were great teachers for me in teaching me about UUCA and about listening to people and about having fun. Annie and Marianne and Paul were my teachers. They taught me about how UUCA works and about how to do worship as a team and about how to keep a whole church running even when we can't be together in the building. And Leanne was my teacher too. She taught me about teaching classes for kids and for adults and about making sure everybody stays connected. Sophia was a great teacher for me. Sophia taught me about music and the way music can help set the right tone for worship. And Linda was my teacher too, and all the people who work so hard on the board. Those are people who volunteer lots of time and energy and help the church run. They're like church super helpers, and they are amazing. And I even had a special committee of people who were here just to help me learn. Bruce, Dana, Dave, Yakamina, Jennifer, and Mariana, they were all on my internship committee helping me learn to be a minister. But I also think it's really important for you all to know that every single one of you also helped me learn how to be a minister. You helped me learn what it means to be Unitarian Universalist and what it means to be in this community at UUCA. You helped me learn when you listened to my stories, like the one we told about Julian the Mermaid, and when we made stories together, like when we made that Mad Lib poem. You told me stories, like when Abby and Nora talked to me about being friends, and you showed me what you do on important days, like flower communion and the Christmas pageant and Easter. I am so grateful to each and every one of you for having been my teacher this year. Every one of you has helped me learn to be a better minister, and that is a very, very special gift. Recently, I was visiting a friend from my home congregation, the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Columbia, Maryland. Towards the end of my visit, her 7-year-old said, "So you're going to be a minister?" "I am," I said. When I told her I had to leave to go to a Zoom meeting for church, she said, "But wait, is that costume itchy?" After a bit of back and forth, I realized that she was thinking about how her minister, Reverend Page, wears a robe when preaching in the sanctuary. Apparently, although she hadn't seen her minister in 15 months, she had been wondering about the itchiness of this particular attire for a long time. Now, I have worn a robe exactly twice, so I hope I didn't lie to her when I said, "No, it's not itchy. Sometimes it's a little hot." "So now you have to go home to put on your robe for your Zoom meeting?" she asked. I laughed and told her that no, I don't wear my robe for Zoom meetings or even on Sundays when we have virtual worship. I know you all can't see what's in front of me, but when I sit here to record worship, to attend meetings, in front of me is my computer and my ring light, and behind that, my pet rats, Ginsberg and Nova, are either sleeping curled up together in their little basket or staring needily through the cage, begging for food. The idea of me sitting in my house in my robe, all pretentious and formal, preaching to my rats, has cracked me up for a while now. More seriously, though, I was fascinated by what was going through her brain as she tried to meld this picture of minister with Laura, who comes to my house and eats peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. She was trying to somehow reconcile what a minister meeting would look like if not a bunch of people sitting on Zoom in robes preaching to each other. It's like seeing a teacher at the pool or seeing your dentist at Target. Even as adults, it's sometimes hard to imagine people we know in one context existing also in another. Perhaps unsurprisingly, since graduating from seminary, I have been reflecting on all the changes I've gone through the past several years, about the roles I have put down, and the roles I have taken on, and the roles I have learned to embody. I've been thinking about how this process of becoming a minister has changed every aspect of my life. And perhaps too late, I'm wondering what it even means to be a minister. I mean, as I'm wrapping this whole thing up, what does it even mean to be a ministerial intern? Somehow I feel like the answer is in the question, that being a ministerial intern can be summed up by all of those questions and all of that reflection times infinity. One of my favorite hymns is "We Laugh, We Cry," particularly that line at the very, very end. "And in our search for peace, maybe we'll finally see, even to question truly is an answer." Even to question truly is an answer. I think part of the joy and the honor and the privilege of being a minister, and particularly of being an intern minister, is that I have had the chance to learn and to question. I have had the opportunity to be with you as you learn and question. I love the big questions we have implicitly and explicitly lived with. What does it mean to be Unitarian Universalist in 2021? How can we best act as people of faith during a global pandemic? And how do we care for each other during this time? But I also love the smaller, personal questions that come up during pastoral care sessions. Questions about love and fear and identity and self. Learning to love and hold and be in the questions is part of being an intern. Luckily, being an intern means that I don't come in with all or even any of the answers. Even more luckily, I don't think being a minister means that I will have to come in with all the answers either. I have felt so lucky to learn from Reverend Amanda the past 3 years, and I've asked her to reflect on this ministry thing and specifically on her role as a teaching pastor. For me, being an intern, learning to be a minister has meant that we, the entire UUCA community get to learn and explore and create with one another. I have gotten to learn who you are, the roles you play, both formally and informally in the congregation, the roles you play in your community, the roles you play in your family and in your lives. There is something in this process of becoming that is fundamentally transformational. I think we all experience this with some role we play in our lives. Maybe it's your job or vocation, but maybe it's a hobby or a role in your family. As that role becomes more fundamental to who we are, as we allow it to change us, things become different. We become different. Maybe being an aunt or uncle to a child in your biological or chosen family is a role that changes you. Or maybe it's taking up golf or finding a new craft or hobby and leaning into that piece of your identity. You become not just a person who golfs or a person who likes knitting, but you become a golfer or a knitter or a kayaker. Something happens, and over time, it's like we wear ourselves differently in the world. I had a moment a few months ago when someone asked me my occupation, and for the first time, the words out of my mouth were, "I'm a minister." I came away from this interaction kind of giddy with excitement, like, oh my gosh, she believed me? I think this is something I'm going to have to get used to, but what's interesting to me is that while I had a hard time believing that this random woman I met believed I was a minister, I also feel, while at UUCA, that I am a minister. And I don't actually think that's entirely because of me. I mean, I guess I could be a minister by my own proclamation, but I think more accurately, we become ministers in relationship to the people we serve. By allowing me to be your intern minister this year, in this wacky virtual pandemic year, you helped me learn not just to play this role, but to embody it, to wear it, and live it, and to see myself in it. And that is an incredible gift. Any intern who works with you, and I hope there will be many, will be so lucky.
I loved hearing Laura's reflection on what it has felt like to move into the role of minister and to say it aloud for the very first time. I suspect many of us have that experience of saying aloud a new thing about ourselves, a new role we have moved into, or a new identity we are trying on, a new way of being, a new us. To say it out loud for the first time, to write it down and share it with someone else, those are brave moments. And coming to that moment, that is at its heart the role of the ministerial internship. There's no set curriculum that we create in a ministerial internship, though there are always a series of experiences. But fundamentally, what the teaching pastor, that's my role in this scenario, and the internship committee, which has been truly wonderful this year, what we are seeking to facilitate is the interns moving into this new role, claiming it for themselves, trying on the robe, metaphorically, and seeing if it fits. And more important than that, seeing how it fits. Seeing what kind of robe they'll choose, or if they'll choose to wear robes at all in ministry. Figuring out not just who they are as a minister, but how they are. Laura and I have both reflected on how wonderful UUCA is as a teaching congregation. That you seem to know instinctively or over your years of experience how to move forward and back, to give a ministerial intern the space to be a minister, to do ministry, and then to reflect and try again in that continual model of praxis, action, and reflection. I love being a teaching pastor, as may already be clear, not just because I have the chance to work with all of these great ministerial interns, and we are delighted to be welcoming Greg Bonin in September, another Meadville Lombard student, but because I grow so much myself as a minister through the active reflection about what ministry is and how we all inhabit it, each of us differently. The opportunity for a congregation to watch that kind of role blossoming, that is a beautiful thing as well. And it is one of my favorite things about being a minister. Not just watching a ministerial intern move into their understanding of the role, but watching any one of you trying on a new role, a new identity, growing into some new fullness of yourself. Perhaps that is the joy we find together, noticing as each of us grow, making space, allowing us to be only who we could be and who only we could be. May you find the spaciousness in this community and in your life to grow into the next role for you. And thank you for letting us be part of that.
We laugh, we cry, we live, we die, we dance, we sing our song. We need to feel there's something here to which we can belong. We need to feel the freedom just to have some time alone. But most of all, we need close friends we can call our very own. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found a need to be together. We have our hearts to give, we have our thoughts to receive, and we believe that sharing is an answer. A child is born among us and we feel a special glow. We see time's endless journey as we watch the baby grow. We thrill to hear imagination freely running wild. We dedicate our minds and hearts to the spirit of this child, and we believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have found a time to be together. And with the grace of age, we share the wonder of youth, and we believe that growing is an answer. Our lives are full of wonder and our time is very brief. The death of one among us fills us all with pain and grief. But as we love, so shall we die, and when our lives are done, the memories we shared with friends, they will linger on, and we believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have found a place to be together. We have the right to grow, we have the gift to believe that peace within our
Will you please join me for a moment of prayer? Let's begin with a breath. These words today are from L. Annie Forrester. Let me tell you who we are. Spirit of ages, creator of life and love, whose names and attributes are infinite, knowable and unknown. O Spirit, hear our prayers. Our names too are many. Let me tell you who we are. We are those who are innocent and those who are wise. We are those who are proud and those who are humble. We are those who are accepted and those who are shunned without understanding why. We are those who love life and those who are fearful and confused. We are those who know abundance and those who know scarcity. We are inheritors of the past and architects of the future. We are givers and we are receivers. We are larger than our skins and smaller than our egos. We are diversity incarnate, dressed in all the glorious hues of ethnicity and all the fascinating textures of genetics. We are the harvests of creation, related by our humanity and separated only by our own voices. We seek a common language, a language of love. Ancient One, it is important for us to know in our rich diversity, for we struggle to know ourselves and one another. Wise One, it is important to know us in our myriad similarities, for we are forgetful and need reminding. Dear One, it is important to know us in our many disguises, for we need but one thing. Help us to love, and help us to know we are worthy of love. In this, we are as one. Amen. thinking about my ministry and the role I have played at UUCA, I'm also thinking about our shared ministry and the role UUCA plays in its ministry in the world. Particularly, I'm thinking about the ways we show up for love and justice in the world, and the ways we each bring our unique identity to this work. How we arrive, the space we take up, the role we can and should play in each social justice space is different, depending on our identities and social location. As a white woman, the role I play in conversations surrounding racial justice is different than the role I play as a queer woman. As a person who is presently able-bodied, what I bring to conversations around disability is different than what I might bring and how I might show up in conversations around gender equality. We are, each of us, multifaceted and full of layers upon layers of intersectional identities, each carrying varying levels of privilege and oppression. I invited Reverend Amanda to reflect more on this piece as well. I know UUCA is so dedicated to being a force of love and justice in the community, and I see the commitment, hard work, and dedication of so many of you, both individually and collectively. I hear you and many other Unitarian Universalists and congregations asking questions about how we can be better allies, how we can be more welcoming, how we can best show up for racial justice and for all those living on the margins. I think so much of what I said earlier about relationship applies when we think about our social justice work. To declare oneself an ally, or declare oneself to be welcoming, or declare oneself to be a justice or liberation-seeking people doesn't actually make it so. We come to live in those roles through the ways we are in relationship with others. It's our relationships with others that actually shape how we can and should define those relationships. Much like I could not have truly been your intern minister if you had not welcomed me in, we cannot become an ally unless we are in relationship and are welcomed into that role. We are not welcoming just because we say we are. We become those things by practicing and by messing up and by trying again. Activist Mickey Scott Bay Jones says that relationship is the abrasion that agitates enough to make a way forward. Relationship smooths the way for the sacred, even as it rubs us raw. Perhaps relationship is what sands and shapes and molds us, creating more room for all that is sacred and holy and for all we desire to do and be in the world. Our work of love and justice, our work of welcome starts here inside the congregation. The work of relationship starts with understanding ourselves more deeply, knowing the roles we play and what they mean for us and for others. We learn and become and create a justice-seeking, liberation-focused community together when we listen to others here at UUCA and in the wider world. We become more welcoming, more loving, more justice-seeking by being in relationship. The roles you play at UUCA, with all of the identities you bring, help us to deepen our relationships, our commitment to justice, and to build this beloved community.
I'm intrigued by Laura's idea that we find our roles through relationship. Sometimes we think about roles, finding the right role, as this deeply individual quest. But I think she's right that in fact, who we are and how we inhabit our roles is so fundamentally shaped by how we are in relationship and with whom. It's true in our personal lives. We can see it in our families for sure, in the sibling order and who we are within our family of origin. And I think it's true in our justice work as well, as Laura points out. Each one of us brings our own identities, our social locations, our histories into the work that we do, the justice we seek to create. Finding our space in a particular movement as an actor, as a leader, as an ally, as an accomplice, as a supporter. And paradoxically, we also find our identities and our roles, the ones we are occupying, shaped by the very work we do together while we are in them. Several months ago, I mentioned briefly in a sermon the work of Deepa Iyer and her concept of different movement roles in justice work, what she calls the social change ecosystem. The sermon was, I believe, roughly about finding your place in justice work, being okay that it wasn't all the places, that all of us can't do all the things. That would be exhausting and not really consistent with the idea of working from within our own identity and our own history. None of us holds all the identities and all the histories, so we can't possibly hold all the roles. And thinking more about this social change ecosystem, though, I've been thinking about how it's not just a tool for finding our own individual role. If we extend Laura's concept of role really emerging out of relationship, we see that the social change ecosystem is a tool reminding us that we need all the roles in the ecosystem for the movement to go forward. It's about developing respect for people who inhabit different roles or whom perhaps inhabit roles differently, and for the importance of collaboration among the roles, the work that we can only do when that collaboration happens, when we're clear on our own role in the movement and inhabit it to our fullest capacity, the fullness of our usness. And when we know what someone else's role is and respect that they are different. It occurs to me that this social change ecosystem could also be applied to congregational life in general and to the idea of shared ministry. Shared ministry, which is a buzzword in congregational life every now and then, but at its heart is simply what it is to be a congregation. Shared ministry is the idea that the ministry of the congregation doesn't belong to just one person, or even to one kind of person, one role. It says that the ministry of the congregation belongs to all of us in different ways. Perhaps in our board leadership, in the way the governance structure is set up, perhaps in the social justice work we do as lay leaders. Perhaps in our role on the ministerial team, each of us inhabiting that work differently and holding different parts of it. Perhaps in our congregational voting and our annual meeting and the work that the congregation as a whole does together. All the ways that we shape the ministry of the congregation, those are the ways that we share it. That it belongs not to a single one of us, but to all of us. UCA knows this keenly. You know, you have discovered over these past few years that, as you put it, we are the church. That is shared ministry. And so as we examine the roles that we play in justice work, the roles we inhabit in our own identities, I wonder, what is your role here? What has it been and what could it be? What honors your history, your identities, your you-ness? Because that is what we need. This congregation, this ecosystem. We need every single one of us inhabiting our roles with the fullness of who we are, to create the magic of justice, the magic of beauty, the magic of poetry and music and art, the magic of life together, of shared ministry, of an ecosystem of roles, each role just a part of the cast we create together. May it be so for all of us and each of us.
Through Saturday, June 19th, 70% of the offering will be split between the food pantry at Our Lady Queen of Peace and the Randolph School PTA. As Reverend Walter noted last week, these groups work in our very own neighborhood by providing food and assistance to those in need. There are many ways to pledge: through our website, by text, the Give Plus app, and by mailing a check. Please put plate in the memo line. As you are making your donations, remember that 30% goes to the continuing mission of the UUCA, and 70% goes directly to people in need. I ask that you listen to your heart and please give accordingly. Let us be grateful when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for those who share their gifts with us, for we are enriched by their giving. Let us be grateful even for our needs, so that we may learn from the generosity of others.
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. Oh, for each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. Oh, for each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage, fathers of time, daughters of dust, and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy, brothers of love, lovers of life, and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth, keepers of faith, makers of peace, mothers of courage, fathers of time, daughters of dust, and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy, brothers of love, lovers of life, and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are one. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage.
Laura, this is your last service as UUCA's intern minister. Now, we get to keep you for a couple more months as you are going to serve as summer minister in June and July. But there is still something particular about closing and marking the time that you served as our intern minister here at UUCA. And so I want to formally thank you, to let you know how much you have taught us, how glad we have been for you to minister among and with us and to us, and to release you from the covenant of ministerial internship and from our particular covenant as teaching pastor and ministerial intern.
Thank you so much, Amanda. It has been an honor to serve UUCA, to minister to all of you for the past congregational year. I celebrate the many things that we were able to do together, even virtually through this year. I prepare to leave as a better minister, better equipped to continue in ministry. With gratitude, I release you from the covenant of serving as my teaching congregation.
I am so grateful for all of the teachers and learners, which is all of us all the time. And I want to express particular gratitude to the internship committee that worked with you here at UUCA, Laura. That internship committee was Mariana Cardozo, Dana Cook, Yakamina DeRate, Dave Gardner, Bruce Ryder, and Jennifer Wright. And, you know, Laura, that was the very first group of people at UUCA that I asked to do anything, because I knew I needed to pull together a group, and I had such great recommendations from many of the staff and lay leaders for who could serve in that role. And I have seen the way they have nurtured you and supported you and provided you with feedback and done all of the things that an internship committee does. And I'm so grateful for their service to you. And really, it is service to UUCA as a whole, to this congregation and community as a teaching congregation.
I have been grateful over and over again that they said yes this year.
Well, we hope that you all, you UCA, will say yes to one more thing. We hope, well, maybe two. We hope that you will, in the chat now, share anything you'd like to. I hope that you've had a chance to write on Laura's Kudo board. And I hope that you will join us this afternoon at 4 o'clock for a kind of combination event of joyfulness. So we are having a handbell concert to ring in pride. That's right, music is happening actually in the moment with us there. And then after that beautiful concert, we'll have a little more time to appreciate Laura, to thank her for her time with us as our intern minister, and for you to get to say goodbye to her. But not really goodbye because she's staying as summer minister, but sort of goodbye and appreciation for the role. So with all of those many things happening, we hope to see you this afternoon. And Laura, it has indeed been a joy and a privilege. And I think now all you have to do today is to close our service.
Activist Mickey Scott Bay Jones says relationship smooths the way for the sacred, even as it rubs us raw. UCA, thank you for the relationship, the shaping, the molding, the smoothing the way for the sacred, and for allowing me to become your intern minister. As we go out into the week, may we all make way for the sacred in our own lives, in our own hearts, in all the roles we play. Blessed be.